Dealing with angry customers is not for the weak or for the sassy. I used to work as a manager for a big box chain. I once had a customer scream at me because they bought a DVD player. Wow, I haven't heard about one of those in a long time. When they were still super expensive. And when they got home, there were encyclopedias in the box instead. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Many things seemed wrong about this. We can all agree on that. But I was on the verge of making the return just to make them happy. Then I happened to open the cover of the encyclopedia and saw a belongs to inscription on the inside. On a whim, I told the customer that I just need an ID to complete the return. It was the same name. I just held the book open in one hand and the ID in the other. The customer left without looking back. What a random thought though. What a random idea. I'm gonna buy this DVD player. I'm gonna go home, use it, put an encyclopedia out of all things in the box and try to return it. What a bold move. Not me, but my boss at the time. I work at a property management company that deals with HOAs and CAIs. My boss once got a call from one of the residents in a community that we manage. She asked my boss to leave work and drive to Costco to see if it seemed busy and had long lines at the checkout. Just assume Costco is always busy. I don't know about y'all, but where I live, Costco is never not busy. There's no like, oh, go around this time, it's less, but nope. Even in the middle of the day, you think everyone's at work, kids are at school. Nope, doesn't matter. I don't know how, but the world and the entire city is always at Costco at every hour of the day. It's insane. I was working at a well-known grocery store in the Northeast. I had many regular customers. I like that the typo is highlighted. I had many regular customers who knew I had a horrendous seafood allergy. I can't even be around it without a reaction starting. So I would ask either the customer or a nearby coworker to scan any seafood items. It was a very efficient system. One day, a man came through with a netted bag of oysters. When I apologized for my allergy and explained he would need to scan the bag, his face twisted. And before I could react, he wiped his hand on the He wiped his hands on the oysters, grabbed my arm, and rubbed the oyster juice up and down my arm. That's attempted murder. He then laid money down and ran out the door. My coworkers shoved some My coworkers shoved some Benadryl down my throat and I was sent home. That's a serious issue. Like, that's assault, number one. If someone's, that's like taking peanut butter and smearing it on someone's face when they're allergic to peanut butter. Very serious. Also, incredibly unnecessary and rude, all because you had to scan your item. We have to do that anyway. It's called self-checkout. I'm now doing other people's jobs. It's silly. Not that I'm complaining, but like, just give them their jobs. Honestly, I'd rather them have their jobs and just cash us out. People have lost, like, so many people have lost their jobs because of self-checkout. Oh, remember when we used to go to a store and self-checkouts didn't exist? What a wild concept. All aboard, hydration station. Perfect timing because I am thirsty. Not that kind of thirsty. This kind of thirsty. Hope you're having a good day. Cheers. When I worked in CEX, an electronics pawn shop, we had tons of irate customers. My worst was a guy who was screaming at another member of the staff. I offered to see if I could help. I was the oldest member of the staff, so people tended to trust me more. I was 26. He handed over a phone that looked as if it had been marinated in garbage and then set on fire. That's what Matt's phone looks like right now. I don't know how he uses it. I politely told him that it was in too rough a condition for us to take. He yelled at me, spat at me, and tried to lunge over the counter to attack me. It was at this point that the police showed up to escort him away, as my manager had called them out of view. What do you think you're getting for a phone like that? Because at that point, if it's in that rough of shape, none of your parts are any use to them. The phone itself is not a use. Even if they open it up, the parts are probably not any use to them given the condition of the phone. A lady once asked me for non-stick tape and was genuinely offended when I told her, ma'am, tape is supposed to be sticky. It's not tape if it's not sticky. What do you mean non-stick tape? I'm trying to think of what they mean. Maybe there's a miscommunication happening. Non-stick tape, but tape That's its job. It's its job to sick. I worked at a shoe store with a very reasonable return policy, and someone once brought back shoes that had easily been worn daily for 3 years, if not longer. The soles had deep holes in them, the sides were completely shredded, the canvas was filthy, and the laces were caked in dirt and moments from snapping. 3 different family members brought the shoes in and all tried to tell us that we sold terrible shoes that fell apart quickly. Once they bought a new pair, shoved the old ones in the new box, and tried to return them, pretending that we were the idiots. People will go really far for these returns and stuff like that, you know? Just to like get some extra money, an extra item. Holy moly, y'all are going all out of sorts. When I worked at Marshall's, guys, this happened all the time. I found a pair of shoes, worn shoes, in a box. So what they did was they walked out of the store with the shoes they tried on. They took the shoes that they were trying on, put them on their feet, put their shoes back in the box, closed it up on the shelf, and frickin' made a run for it, I guess. And then ever since then, most shoes now have like those security tags in them. But that's an old trick. That's an old trick in the shoplifting world, because it happened. I found the worn shoes and I was like, what's going on? My brother worked at a grocery store and once had a lady come in and scream at him, the 16-year-old cashier, because the red box outside the store didn't have the movie that she wanted available. Oh, poor you. Poor you. As if this kid has any control over that situation. Any control. I've worked in retail management my entire adult life. I feel so sorry for you. I really do. I'm gonna keep you in my prayers tonight. So many customers come to mind, but this was my most recent. A gentleman called and was irate that we didn't have something in stock. He was convinced that we were lying to him, so he couldn't buy it. He called weekly to complain. At one point, he started to threaten me and my team. I filed a complaint with the company. The best part? The item he was looking for has literally never existed. I've never seen it or heard of it. He just found a picture on Facebook. That's great. But you know what? Even when you tell them that, brother, this item does not exist. We don't have it. We never have. They're still going to be mad. And they're still going to be like, well, you should have it. You should create it. It should exist. It's your fault. Guarantee there's going to be no different outcome, even if this information is known. So that is the joy of retail. I waited tables all through high school at this tiny diner. One time, an older man ordered the eggs Benedict. Good choice. I love me some eggs Benny. For some reason, the kitchen placed his eggs next to, not on top of, the English muffin. This man was so furious, he had to count down from 10 under his breath in an attempt to calm himself down. Not knowing what to do, I offered to bring it back to the kitchen so they could move the eggs onto the bread. He was so angry, he threw a spoon at my head. I understand, okay? We're all thinking it, right? If you have eggs Benny, you're like, well, why would the kitchen place his eggs next to the English muffin? But if you're a true Eggs Benny fan, some people find that it gets too soggy when it's put on top by the time it's brought to them with all the sauce, and if you got cheese on there, whatever, I don't know. So the option is nice. Some people like to cut the Eggs Benny and then cut a piece of bread and eat it that way, whereas if it's on top, it can make the bread soggy. So maybe they were doing it with that in mind. Like, you can lift up the egg and put it on the bread yourself if that's what you want. But apparently this man could not do that. He had to have someone else pick up the egg and put it on the bread. I worked in a bookshop while I was at university, and a woman tried to return a book that had very clearly been read, probably more than once, broken spine, folded pages, etc. She told me that it was okay to read something once, then return it if you didn't like it. Like keeping the tags on a nice dress. I pointed out to her that you shouldn't do that with a dress either, and she threw the book on the floor and stormed off, but weirdly paused to check out the new releases before she left. Yeah, no. If you guys don't know what this old trick is, you buy a dress, You keep the tag on, you wear the dress if it's for like an event or a one night thing. You don't stain the dress. You act very appropriately and careful in the dress, and then you return it like you never wore it. I've actually never done that in my life. Proudly, I can say that. And I'm not lying. I've told you I've shoplifted in my past when I was a child, so what do I have to hide? That's the truth. Never done it, but I definitely know people who have. It's very common, apparently. I worked at a Best Buy for 8 years. My rudest customer story came from a man who thought his TV remote was broken. He came into the store looking to speak to a manager, as they do. When he was told that the manager was dealing with another customer and would be with him shortly, he freaked out. This man began screaming at our customer service, flailing his arms, yelling obscenities. As the loss prevention lead, I had to deal with customers who were out of control and try to calm them down. I walked over to see if I could calm him down, something I've done 1,000 times. This man was one of the few ones I could not tame. He ultimately ended up throwing the remote at one of our customer service representatives, being removed from the premises, and being issued a criminal trespass. All over a TV remote. All over a TV remote. Usually it's the batteries every time, but sometimes the remote might just break. You know, it might just simply break. All this over a remote control. It is very annoying to go up and use the buttons on the TV. First world problems, you know? Sometimes I'm very aware of the silly things that I complain about in life. Like things that are actually a gift and we could be very grateful. I actually recently started following this new perspective. You know, gratitude, it's important. But rather than saying, I have to go do this, we say, I get to go do this. So I've been doing that a lot lately. You know, and like, oh, I have to go get an oil change. Super annoying. Costs money. Don't want to do it. Also though, some people dream of having a car. They dream of being able to afford a vehicle for themselves. So I'm so lucky that I get to go get an oil change and have a car. I'm trying to do that, you know, because life sucks sometimes and life is expensive. But I thought I'd share that perspective. I think it's a good one. Stay classy out there, stay sassy, stay grateful, and I'll see you tomorrow.